So as we mentioned, today is the appearance of Sri Vamandev, Vaman Dwadasi. So, Kasyapa and Aditi did great penances and austerities, and the Lord finally agreed to become their son. So on a very auspicious moment, actually it was known as Shravan Dwadasi. I was a little confused because now we're in the month of Bhadra, but it's because this particular Dwadasi happens to be in Shravan Nakshatra. So on this Dwadasi of the bright half of the month of Bhadra, Lord Vamandev, he appeared outside of the womb of Aditi in beautiful golden garments and beautiful helmet and garlands, not in the ordinary way. Children aren't born like that. Beautiful ankle bells, and everything was extremely beautiful. Both of them were completely absorbed in ecstasy. They couldn't believe their eyes. All the demigods began showering flowers, and everyone began to chant so many beautiful prayers. Then, just like a dancing actor, right in front of his mother and father and everyone, he changed into the form of a beautiful dwarf Brahmin. Very golden complexion, because he was very blackish complexion in his original form, but in a very golden complexion, a beautiful Brahmin form, and everyone began to praise. And immediately the sun god came and gave him the Gayatri mantra. I think it was Lord Brahma gave him the sacred thread, and like this, all the demigods gave some presentation, danda, umbrella, padukas, like this. And he was just shining so much that all the demigods were diminished by his great effulgence. And everyone offered so many beautiful prayers and everything. Then Vamandev performed a very beautiful sacrifice to terminate the birth ceremony. And then he knew that Bali Maharaj, because at this time Bali Maharaj had conquered all the three worlds. He was the son, I believe, of Virochana, and it goes back to Prahlad Maharaj. So somehow the demons, they had control of the whole universe, and the Devatas were very upset. So at this time, everyone became very happy on Lord Vamandev's appearance. And he understood that Bali Maharaj was on the northern bank of the Narmada River in a place called Bhrigu Kacha. With Brahmins from the Bhrigu dynasty, he was performing a great sacrifice on the direction of Sukracharya, his spiritual master, the spiritual master of all the demons. So immediately set off for that northern bank of the Narmada. And as he was walking, the earth was actually sinking with each step, boom, boom, because he was full in himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as he walked, even the earth was sinking as he walked. And he was so effulgent. When everyone saw Lord Vamandev approaching the sacrificial arena, they thought that the sun god had come, or some great personality had come. Everybody stood up, and he was so effulgent. Again, everyone, all the Bhrigu Brahmins and everyone became diminished in the presence of his great effulgence. And Bali Maharaj, knowing the etiquette, immediately came. He washed Lord Vamandev's feet. He sprinkled the water on his head, thus becoming purified. He sprinkled it on everyone's head, purifying everyone. Then he asked this young Brahmin that, what do you desire? I can give you everything. I can give you a whole dweep. I can give you diamonds. I can give you gold. I can give you nice Brahman Putri if you want. Whatever you want, I can give. Right? He was bragging like this because he was intoxicated with his power, control of the three worlds. Vamandev said, I just want 3 steps of land according to my measure. He says, oh, my dear boy, you're not very intelligent. What do you want, just 3 steps of land? I can give you a whole dweep if you want. I can give you towns, I can give you villages, I can give you gold, silver, everything I can give you. And then Vamandev said, if one is not satisfied with what is easily gotten, if one cannot control his senses, he'll never be satisfied in life. And this struck Bali Maharaj's heart, these words. Because he realized he had control of the 3 worlds, still he was performing sacrifice to get more opulence, Everybody always wants more and more. As soon as you make a goal in life, I want 1 crore rupees. Now crore rupees is nothing. I want 10 crore. Then I want Arab. Beyond that even. Always wanting more and more. No one's ever satisfied. But one who's satisfied with whatever he gets by the grace of the Lord, he's actually happy. Vamandev was struck. So I just want 3 steps of land. Then Sukracharya, he understood, Vishnu has come in the form of this Brahman. He's come in the form of this Brahman. So he immediately went to, because immediately Bali Maharaj, he offered, yes, you take whatever you want, I will give you. And then Sukracharya came and said, what are you doing? You don't know what danger you're putting yourself. Actually, Sukracharya was interested in his own self because he was being supported by Bali Maharaj. If Bali Maharaj loses everything, he also loses his support. So he was self-interested in this whole thing. And he said, this is actually Vishnu. And Bali said, you always told me to offer everything. We're doing this whole sacrifice, He said, no. And I've promised, and no one in my line has ever broken their promise. And then he quoted so many things that to save one's life, to save one's property, so many things, one can lie. One can go back on a promise that will put one in danger. And Bali Maharaj hesitated for some time. And he began to consider both of the things that how can he disobey his guru, but on the other hand, how can he refuse? A Brahmin has come. No one in his line has ever refused charity to a Brahmin. But because he had sprinkled the water of Lord Vamandev's feet, he'd become purified. He understood that this is not a bona fide spiritual master. Bona fide spiritual master always engages in the service of Krishna, never against Krishna. So, he immediately took a water pot and made sankalp, and he offered Lord Vamandev, please take your 3 steps. And Vamandev began to expand, and 1 foot covered practically the lower planetary systems and the earth. Everything was covered. And his body was covering all the sky and air and ether, everything. His 2nd step covered the entire Swargaloka. And this particular chapter says Lord Brahma washed the lotus feet of the Lord with his kamandalu. Other Puranas describe how he kicked a hole in the universe and the water from the causal ocean came and touched Lord Brahma's foot and came down as the Ganga. So Biswanath Chakravarti says both things are there. The Ganga is a combination, actually 3rd, I can't remember just now what it was the 3rd one, but it's a combination of 3 special waters. And just one time, that's reminding me, one time in Kumbh Mela, because Kumbh Mela is coming, one sadhu asked me, why is it, just like we have the beautiful song where we glorify the Vaishnav. And he said, why are we glorifying the Vaishnav over Ganga? So I knew he must have some very special answer. So I said, I don't know. He said, well, one time Ganga touched the Lord's toe and became purified. And she ran away. He said, but the Vaishnav, he's again, every day, again and again, he's touching the Lord's lotus feet and always running toward the Lord. Ganga, one time she touched Lord's toe and ran away. And devotee, Vaishnava, he's always touching the lotus feet of the Lord and always running toward the Lord. So we give more honor to the devotee than Ganga. Ganga Parasha Hoile Pashate Pavan. Even more important is the Vaishnava. So, and Sukracharya, he cursed him that you will lose everything and you will become a resident of hell. He just cursed him like anything. That what have you done? So anyway, then Garuda came with the ropes of Varuna and arrested Bali Maharaj. And Lord said, I have taken 2 steps of land and there's nothing left. And so your promise has become bifal, useless. And he said, actually, my Lord, there's one more place. You kindly place your lotus foot on my head. I have one more place. So Bali Maharaj, he's the symbol of surrendering everything to the Lord. Just like we know Sukadev Goswami for Kirtanam and Parikshit for Sravanam. So surrendering everything to the Lord is Bali Maharaj. He became so purified. And Lord gave him that you will rule for many millions of years and then you will go to even better than Swarg. There's a place in the lower planetary system called Sutala, which is even better than Swarg. And there you will go and stay peacefully. And I will guard you. No demons, even the demons won't bother you. Even though you've taken the side of Vishnu, even they won't, because I will personally guard you. And you will live there in that Sutala Loka. So in this way, on this, this is called Shravan Dwadasi, although it's the month of Bhadra, and it's the bright Dwadasi of the month of Bhadra. It is Shravan Nakshatra, so it's called Shravan Dwadasi. And on this very auspicious day, Lord Vamandev was pleased to make his appearance. Shri Vaman Avatar ki. That makes me remember, I don't know there's many people around. Remember the old Vamandev who used to be here in Juhu. Every day he was always reading Bhagavatam or Krishna book. While we were taking prasad, he would always read. Very wonderful devotee. He left his body many years ago, but he was one of the, I'm always remembering him from my old days in Juhu. So today is also the appearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami. And we trace his line all the way back to Karnataka. There was one Karnat Brahmin named Sarvadya Jagadguru, who was the king of that whole area. And he was very learned and very gentle. And his son was the illustrious Aniruddha. And Aniruddha had 2 sons, Harihar and Rupeshwar. And I believe it was Harihar was the younger son. So he divided the kingdom between them, but Harihar kicked out Rupeshwar from the kingdom. He took over both the kingdoms. So Harihar went to another state and began to stay there. And after some time, his descendants, they settled in Naihati on the banks of the Ganga in Godadesh. And there was one, I think Kumar Dev, who eventually went to Jasohara, at the time it was known. And they settled there and they had so much communication with so many learned pundits in that place. And Kumar Dev had 3 illustrious sons, Rup, Sanatan, and Ballabha. And people, wandering sages would come through and tell all about the incarnation of Lord Chaitanya in Navadvip. So they were always hearing about this Lord Chaitanya. And somehow, Sanatan, he was very, very intelligent. And one time, Maharaj Hussain Shah, he wanted to have a lookout tower built. Because we know Bengal is a very flat place. So if you want to see if some enemy is coming, you need a very tall lookout tower. So he told one of his ministers to build a lookout tower. So that minister, he knew Sanatana Goswami was very intelligent. He went to him. So Sanatana Goswami designed and got this beautiful tower built. One time we were on the safari with Jayapataka Maharaj. They call it safari, but I call it safari. And we saw that tower is still there. But because people were doing all nonsense, they had to lock the door, so you can't go up inside anymore. But previously you could go inside and look all around the beautiful green countryside. It's so beautiful. Godadesh is so beautifully green. And many of the walls that he built to keep the Ganga from flooding the kingdom, they're still there. You can see the beautiful walls all around. It's a very beautiful place. So when Maharaj Hussain Shah saw this beautiful watchtower, he said, "Who made this?" He said, "I made it." He says, "I know you. You're not intelligent enough." As kings, they're always very clever, they know everything. He said, "You didn't make this." So he pointed out Sanatan. His name at that time was Sandosh Datta. So Maharaj Hussain Shah said, "I want this guy and his brother in my ministry." But now, those days, Hindu society was very, very rigid. If you got service under a Muslim, then you lost your caste and you rejected from Hindu society. And they were very high Brahmins, Saraswat Brahmins from Karnataka. So this was, a great problem. But he made them an offer that they couldn't refuse. Either you join my ministry or we'll do some surgery above the shoulders. He made an offer he couldn't refuse. So Rupa and Sanatan, Sanatan became the prime minister and Rupa was in charge of the treasury. And they were always hankering, how can we get the association of the Lord Chaitanya delivering those who are the most fallen? We're the most fallen, we're serving the Muslim king. How can we get deliverance? And Mahaprabhu one time he said he was going to Vrindavan, but Vrindavan is west, and he went north. So many acharyas and scholars believe that actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply went to save Rupa and Sanatan, because they were the prime movers in his movement, the generals of his movement. So he came there and thousands of people were following him. And even Maharaj Hussain Shah, he began to hear the reports from his intelligence. This guy is coming, so many thousands of people following him. He's not giving them anything, they're just singing and dancing. So he went to Sanatan, he said, this wandering sadhu has come, so many people. Sanatan was afraid that if Hussain Shah takes interest, maybe he'll kill him or something. He said, he's just a crazy sadhu that people are just, foolish people are following. He said, my intelligence says thousands of people are following. The people who are serving me, if I don't pay them, they'll stop serving me. And these people he's not giving them anything and they're all following him. I think he's an incarnation of God. This was Hussain Shah. So anyway, Rupa and Sanatan, from a distant place, they paid their obeisances. There was a beautiful tamal tree there. That tamal tree is still existing. We saw that. And Swarup Damodar, he pointed out that from a distance, Rupa and Sanatan are paying their obeisances. And Mahaprabhu came there and picked them up and embraced them. And he gave them the order that they should leave everything and go to Vrindavan. And at that time, some authorities say Jiva Goswami was a small boy. From a distance he saw Mahaprabhu. Some say that he wasn't born at that time. So there's some, maybe he took darshan of Mahaprabhu, maybe not. There's some dispute on that point. So, and Anupam had the third brother, Anupam. He became, Mahaprabhu gave him the name, gave Santosh the name, because he became Sakar Malik, so he gave him the name Sanatan, and Rupa Goswami became Dabir Khas. So there was some intrigue. Somehow Rupa got away, but when Sanatana Goswami tried to leave his service, the king threw him in jail. And we saw that was actually the treasury house. He wasn't put in an ordinary jail. That treasury house is still there. We got to see that place, and we did a whole drama on the lawn in front of that about this pastime. So anyway, Rupa and Sanatan, they left for Vrindavan. Meanwhile, Jiva, he was just not interested in playing and fooling around. He was always, he was very interested in his studies, especially the scriptures, and he was always studying, and anything that had no relation to Krishna, he wasn't interested. And from great teachers, he learned all about Sanskrit, he learned so many things. And all the Vedas said, just see the renunciation of this young boy. Surely he will leave us all. We'll be bereft. We'll be ruined if he leaves. He's the life of the village. They all began to discuss like this. And Jiva, he got two little dolls of Krishna and Balaram, and he played with them all the time, decorated them and worshipped them and everything. He would even go to sleep clasping Krishna and Balaram to his breast. And everyone understood he had no interest in playing and fooling around. He was always interested in hearing about Krishna. If you did want to talk about Krishna, he went away. And he was just in love with these Krishna and Balaram. Then, he had one dream, very special dream before, but another time he had a very special dream. That Krishna and Balaram came in his dream. And Balaram was so beautiful, white complexion with blue garments, and Krishna was dark blue with golden garments and beautiful golden decorations. And they were dancing and playing, and then suddenly his dream broke. He'd had this dream before, and again he had this dream. And he was just lamenting and lamenting. Somehow again he fell asleep. Again he saw Krishna and Balaram. Then before his eyes they turned into a Gornitai. And they were dancing and chanting with hundreds of living in it. Everybody was dancing and chanting. People were rolling in the ground. People were pulling their hair. People were ripping their cloth. Beautiful scene on the bank of the Ganga. And Lord Nityananda came and embraced him and put him at the feet of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya embraced him, put him at the feet of Lord Nityananda like this. Back and forth, they surrendered him. So then he knew that he must leave this place and follow his uncles to Vrindavan. So, the next day, before daybreak, he left and headed first to Navadvip. When he got to Navadvip, he was greeted by none other than Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda took him on Prikrama of all the holy places. Just imagine, people want to come and get Prikrama from me, but if you get Prikrama from Lord Nityananda, wow. And he said, quickly go to Vrindavan. On the way he stopped in Kashi. And there was the disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Something Vachaspati, I can't remember the name. He was a disciple of, and he learned the scriptures and more deeply about Sanskrit and everything, and he became so perfect that Vidyapati Vachaspati, he was always showing him around to everyone in Kashi that this young fellow is so learned, way beyond his years he's learned. He's the most learned person in the Shastras. So later Jiva Goswami, then he went to Vrindavan and joined his uncles, Rupa and Sanatan. Actually, he became the disciple of Rupa Goswami. Some people say that was the only disciple that Rupa Goswami had. And they trained him very nicely. Because Prabhupada said there's no greater philosopher in the world than Srila Jiva Goswami. So they kept him very nicely, and actually Rupa Goswami, he carved one deity named Damodar, and he gave that deity to Jiva Goswami. So now that deity is in Jaipur. You can see there's a very small deity, because I can't, Rupa was a scholar, I can't imagine him carving the big deity. The younger Goswamis now, they're trying to tell that this is the Damodar, but everyone knew for hundreds of years it was the other one. But they write books and tell everybody that Damodar came back. So, and after the demise of Rupa and Sanatan, then Jiva Goswami, he became the leader of all the Vaishnavas in Braj and Orissa and Bengal. He was so learned. But there's some pastimes before they left, because one time Rupa Goswami was writing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Jiva Goswami was assisting him in editing. And at that time, Ballavacharya came. Now, even when he met Mahaprabhu, he was quite old, elderly. So he must have been quite elderly Vaishnava at this time. And he asked to see the book that Rupa Goswami was writing. And he immediately began to criticize some points here and there. Just like Rupa Goswami has written, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kama Spriha Hridaye Pisasti. That this Bhukti Mukti and Siddhi, those who desire these things, these are like witches. He said, all through Bhagavatam, Mukti is glorified. How you can call Mukti a witch? And a few other little points he began to criticize. And Jiva Goswami was thinking, there's nobody like Sanatana Goswami. Mahaprabhu has given his entire, twice Mahaprabhu mentions, I have given my entire transcendental potency to Sanatana Goswami. Rupa Goswami. My entire, nobody's like Rupa. Who is this guy to criticize? But his spiritual master didn't say anything, so he didn't say anything. Then Rupa said, I have to go take my bath, so he went down to the Jamuna to take his bath. And Jiva Goswami began to discuss with Ballavacharya. And he pointed this out. He says, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Spriha. He says, he doesn't say that Mukti is a witch. He says the desire for Mukti, the desire for Bhukti, desire for Siddha, these are the witch. And then he defeated all the points, very soundly defeated all the points. So Ballavacharya was astounded. He ran to Rupa on the bank of the Jamuna. He said, whatever I said, you just forget it. Whatever you've written is perfect. Your little young disciple there, he's opened my eyes. He said, I'm just old and sometimes I get cranky and criticize things. You don't mind. Anyway, whatever you've written is perfect. Don't worry about it. And Rupa Goswami came back and he said, Ballavacharya was senior Vaishnava. He just wanted to help me. He offered some criticism to help. He wasn't trying to find fault. He was just trying to assist. You couldn't tolerate. You're not qualified. You don't know the proper etiquette. You can't stay here in Vrindavan. You leave. So with a heavy heart, Jiva Goswami left Vrindavan. But he couldn't leave. He got as far as Nandagat. Nandagat is where Nanda Maharaj was arrested by the servants of Varuna because he took bath too early on Ekadasi day. The village is known as Baigam because Nanda Baba got a big bai, fright. So that village is known as Baigam, and the Ghat on the Jamuna is Nandagat. And there he found a crocodile hole, because there used to be, sometimes even now, I saw on Facebook somebody showed a picture of a crocodile in the Jamuna. But anyway, it used to be more common in the old days. So he found an old abandoned crocodile hole and began to stay there. And sometimes he got some atta, some wheat flour from the villagers. He mixed it with Jamuna water, didn't even cook it, just ate it like that. And all day he was performing all these penances and austerities like this. So gradually, Sanatana Goswami, he noticed that now Rupa was having a lot of trouble. The writing of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was getting very sluggish. So he asked him, where's Jiva? So he told him what happened. So Sanatana Goswami became very concerned. So he began to wonder through Braj if he could see if he could find out any news of his nephew. So one day he came to Nandagat and he was doing Madhukari, and he came out some Brijpadi's little mud hut, grass hut, and he called out, Radhisham, 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 Madhukari, Hari Bol, Roti Do. And there was no answer. Again, with impatience in his voice, he called out, Hari Bol, Radhisham, Madhukari. An old Brijvasi lady's voice came from inside the hut. Are Baba, I was serving my husband, my hands are dirty, I was washing my hands. You don't have any patience? You're not like our Baba. Our Baba, he doesn't ask anybody for anything. All day he's on the bank of the Jamuna, just chanting, Ha ha Chaitanya, Ha ha Nityananda, Ha ha Rupa, Ha ha Sanatan. So Sanatana Goswami said, this could only be Jiva Goswami. Nobody else could perform austerities like that. And he said, where is this Baba? And she came outside and pointed to the bank of the Jamuna. He went down. By eating just this poor diet, he got sores all over his body. He was very weak. He couldn't even receive his uncle properly. He just rolled over and paid his obeisances. And Sanatana Goswami embraced him and bathed him with tears. Then somehow or other he managed to get some other people, and they helped him bring him back to Vrindavan. And he put him outside of, left him outside of Rupa Goswami's hut. And he went inside and he asked Rupa, what have you written in your book about the behavior of the Vaishnavas? Jiva ko daya karo. A Vaishnav, he's always giving mercy to the Jivas. And you don't give mercy to your own Jiva? Rupa Goswami heard this. He understood there must be some secret meeting. So he ran outside and he embraced. He saw poor Jiva in very desperate condition. He embraced him and was crying and crying. And somehow they nursed him back to health. In this way, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was completed very nicely with the help of Jiva Goswami. And Prabhupada is told that Jiva Goswami, he was the greatest philosopher the world has seen. He has written these Satsandarbhas. In these Satsandarbhas, there's no question that Jiva Goswami has left uncovered. He has answered every question you could ever ask about spiritual life, about God realization, about Krishna. Everything is answered there. We don't have to go to any other sampradaya begging. Jiva Goswami has left huge wealth of knowledge for all of us in these Satsandarbhas. In fact, our Biswanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vijayabhusan, he's written very beautiful Mangala Charan in his commentary to the Satsandarbhas. He says, Yeshanka Pankena Kutarka Pashuna Vivartakarchena Talup Dididim Sudam Yadagbak Shudaya Maheshwaram Krishnam Sajivam Prabhumastu Nogati. He says the shining glories of Maheshwaram Sri Krishna, the great Lord Sri Krishna, the shining glories of the great Lord Sri Krishna, Yeshankya Pankena. Nowadays punk means something else, but in Sanskrit, punk means mud, kichur. He said the shining glories of Lord Krishna, they were trampled in the punk, in the mud of Sankhya philosophy. See, Sankhya Pankena Kutarka. Tark we know means to argue. And all the pundits, they simply like to, they're not trying to find a truth, they're just trying to put down the other guy, and everybody's arguing, just useless Kutark, useless arguments. So that's like Pashuna. Pashuna means dust storm. Just like in Braj, in April comes and all of a sudden the whole western sky becomes black. And you can see lightning. You can't hear it yet, the thunder, but you see the lightning, and reddish and blackish clouds are coming. And all of a sudden you see it's a huge dust storm. And all the birds come flying before that dust storm. You'll see flocks of birds. The dust comes and it's everywhere, and it gets into your eyes, between your teeth, even if you shut your windows, still your house becomes full of dust. These dust storms come in your eyes, you can't see anything. So this Kutarka is like a dust storm, Pashuna, just a dust storm. Vivarta Gartena Chalup Dididim. It fell in the deep black hole of Vivarta. Vivartavad, say mean Mayavad. The shining glories of the great Lord Krishna fell into the black hole of Mayavad philosophy. But Sudam Vyadak Bhakshudaya, with his pure nectarine words. Bhakshudaya, just like we say Uvacha, Bhakshudaya, with his pure nectarine words, Jiva Goswami has rescued those shining glories of the great Lord Sri Krishna. Vivartakarchena Tadupti Didi Sudam Vyada Bhakshudaya Mahesham Krishnam Sajiva Prabhu Astunogati. That Jiva Goswami is my Prabhu, my Lord, and Astunogati, and the goal of my life. So this beautiful Mangala Charan is there, describing so perfectly Jiva Goswami. He's written so much stuff. We don't have to go begging to any other sampradaya for any philosophical question. Jiva Goswami has answered everything that we could possibly want. So these are some of the glories of Srila Jiva Goswami, whose appearance day is also in this this month of Bhadra, on the 12th day of the bright half of the month of Bhadra. This is also the appearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami. And he's written in the beginning of his Satsandarbhas, he wrote that that there was one friend from the South India, friend of my uncle's, Rupa and Sanatan. They had a friend from the South. And he wrote some nice things, but they're not in order and they're sometimes broken. But this tiny Jiva, he says Jivaka, he says of himself, this tiny Jivaka, tiny little Jiva, is trying to put that all in nice order. So actually, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he was from South, he didn't want his name anywhere, so he just says, friend from the, who was a friend of Rupa and Sanatan from the South. He doesn't say Gopal Bhatta. He wrote some things, I'm just putting, this little Jiva is putting them in order. So he shows his humility. Everybody writes their book, and you open up the first page and they have their great picture there and their big name, and they have, Acharya Ratna and Nyaya Nipun and so many titles, they want to put. Jiva just puts his little name, that this little Jivaka, this tiny Jiv is putting these things in order. So this is our Jiva Goswami. Sri Jiva Goswami ki jai. So maybe there's some questions. We could go on and on and on about Jiva Goswami. But and there's one very nice sitting place of Jiva Goswami in Radhakund. We don't have many, but his samadhi is there in Radha Damodar Mandir, because Damodar was his deity. And one of his sitting places is in Radhakund, just opposite, where Lalita Kund is, just opposite that is Jiva Goswami Samadhi Mandir. And one devotee who doesn't want his name known, he fixed up Krishnadas Kaviraj's bhajan kutir. There was some funds left over, so he told them just use it for Jiva Goswami's sitting place. So they fixed it all up, and they had one very famous artist from ISKCON named Archa Vigraha from South Africa. He's one of the non-Indian devotees of South Africa. Archa Vigraha, disciple of Giriraj Maharaj. One of her last services was painting that famous painting of Jiva Goswami. So they fixed it up, they put her painting there in that bhajan kutir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this example which you explained, incident of Rupa Goswami chastising Jiva Goswami, because Jiva Goswami, he defended his spiritual master and also the absolute truth. So now for us, when we should, act and try to defend, and when we should be quiet.
Well, Mahaprabhu is given his personal example because he wrote this verse, Trinadapi Sunechena, that one should be more tolerant than a tree. Like a tree, the trees are standing there, it's raining, it's cold, the snow comes, this, that, people carve initials, and he doesn't take any, but he gives shelter to everyone. So, for our own self, we should be more tolerant than a tree. But we saw that when Mahaprabhu heard that Jagai and Madai have cracked the head open of Nityananda, he came like fire. So for our own self, we should be very tolerant. But if somebody is blaspheming a Vaishnava, we should become like fire. So our own self, when they call us names, anyway, it was just like I remember it's, this is Vamandev. Anyway, there's another, in Mathura, there's 2 temples of Brahadev. And one of them is Swait Viraha. And one time I went there with some life members and we came inside and Pujari got very upset, because although it's Swait Viraha, white Viraha, they don't like white people there. Now they do. Now they've invited us for kirtans. The descendants, the very young boy, he invited us, you please come anytime. Those are the old people. And he was just saying, you just think putting a sikha and putting on white, putting on saffron cloth, you become a Vaishnava, and they were insulting me like this. I think, yeah, it's true. It's a good instruction. They're just, keeping a sikha and putting tilak and Vaishnava dress. It doesn't make a Vaishnava. So I just took it as the life members. They blasted him like anything, but I just took it. This is good instruction. It's not the dress, it's the bhav that makes a Vaishnava.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So my question is how to obtain the mercy of Jiva Goswami on his appearance day. How to obtain the mercy of Srila Jiva Goswami?
Well, Prabhupada, all those Satsandarbhas, Prabhupada has churned it into very thick cream and butter and put it in his books. So if you just sprinkle the butter, those butter drops on all the fallen souls. That's the best way to serve Jiva Goswami, please Jiva Goswami. Somehow or other, spread this mercy around. Because we know Jiva Goswami one time, he had Narottam, Chamananda and Srinivas. And he told them, you take all the Goswami Granths, books, and you take them to Bengal. Because nobody knows where they're, everybody in Bengal is just, Chaitanya, and in Vrindavan, Radha Krishna, so they have to bring them together. So he was interested to spread this knowledge. Jiva Goswami made the first traveling Sankirtan bus. He went to Mathura to some merchants, and he had a special bullock cart made to put all the books inside. And just like we take buses and we rip out all the seats, and we put a big platform, and we put all the books underneath. So we're following directly in Srila Jiva Goswami footsteps. Srinivasacharya and Chamananda and Narottam, we're following in their footsteps by making, of course now we don't have bullock carts, we have buses, and we just put all the books underneath, and we put a little kitchen, and somehow we go and travel and distribute books. This is following in the footsteps of Srila Jiva Goswami, who made the first traveling Sankirtan bus. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. So, Prabhuji, we the devotees of ISKCON, we have very wonderful opportunity of having the books written by Srila Prabhupada. So, apart from that, the Goswami's literature, like Sat Goswami you just mentioned, so there are many literatures. So, are we allowed to read those books? And if yes, what is the qualification and when we can read that?
Anyway, there's many quotes of Prabhupada where he says, if you want to know about Krishna consciousness, you read this Krishna Karnamrit of Kavi Bilbil Mangala Thakur many times. And he was very happy when we were translating all these books. But first you read all of Prabhupada's books, then you understand these. That's the first qualification. You read all of Prabhupada's books. Then you understand these other books. And you be careful who's translated. Because the Hajjas, they say that Jiva Goswami was rejected. Because there's another incident where this Digvijay Pandit came, who was going around and conquering everybody. And Rupa Sanatana, they didn't want to waste their time in Kutark, useless argument. So they signed his book, that we'd been defeated by so-and-so on such and such date. They both signed. Then he went to Jiva Goswami. See, I smashed your uncles. Immediately, Jiva Goswami, he sat down and defeated that guy very thoroughly and ripped out those 2 pages from his book and took them to Rupa and Sanatana. So the Sajjas say that Rupa and Sanatana rejected him, but there's no evidence of that, and it was his duty as a disciple to defend his spiritual master. So we should be very careful. The Sajjas, they don't like the Jiva Goswami was studying all the time. They just want to, chant and roll on the ground and cry and do things like that. So they make so many false acts. So we have to be careful of who we're getting the translation from. Okay. Where's our Bhakta mic? Okay, here he comes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we like to know how you have came to ISKCON and how you learn Hindi so much nicely. That day you have given Hindi class also. So you explain.
I would have done today, but I don't talk about Vamandev or Jiva Goswami every day. So Krishna's pastimes, I'm always speaking. So I know them. It's easy to translate in my mind. So I'm sorry I couldn't speak in Hindi today. A few words I stuck in there. But how I came to Krishna consciousness, that's a 3-hour story. Basically, in the end of the 60s and 70s, the young people of America were searching. We had seen that you know, that our parents, they struggled their whole life to get a house and a car and, you know, color TV was a big deal those days, you know, color TV and all these things. And so what, you know? It didn't make any sense to us. They just work all day in some nasty city in some little cubicle, 35 stories in the sky, you know. What is the use of that, you know? We didn't find it, you know, my heart was empty. So, but I read, somehow or other I was thinking, I was living in Boulder, Colorado, up in the Rocky Mountains above Boulder. And I was thinking, this is Swarg, this is the Nirvana, this is the Swarga, this is the heaven. Whatever scripture is talking about, you know, this is it. But my heaven had a problem. At the end of the summer in September, it became very cold. So I came down and ran into the devotees. It just happened to be the day before Janmashtami. And they took me, but they didn't have a temple. They'd come to start a temple. They were staying with some hippies outside of Boulder somewhere. And I went out, and they said, you can, you know, tomorrow's Krishna's birthday. Is it Krishna's birthday? Because I knew the chanting of Hare Krishna, because all the young people, you know, there was one musical named Hare, it became popular, Hare Krishna. We all knew Krishna. That I didn't know, it wasn't what is Krishna, it was a who Krishna. And he has a birthday. He said, yeah, if you want, you come and stay with us. Tomorrow we'll fast all day and midnight have a 25-course vegetarian feast. Now I was a cook. So that fascinated me, 25-course Indian recipes, wow, you know. And so we went and stayed out with them, and they gave me a Bhagavad-gita. And I started reading, and just in the introduction, all the questions that were in my heart were answered. Prabhupada's introduction. I first met Prabhupada through his books. And Prabhupada gave an example. He said, just like you have a bird in a bird cage. You can go to Dubai and get some gold and make a nice gold cage. You can make it out of silver. You can go to Gujarat and get some nice diamonds and put diamonds all over it. You can put a, you know, nice digital TV. So many things, but bird won't be happy until he gets some nourishment. The same way, this body is like a cage, and this soul is living inside this body like a bird. And you can do everything for this body unless you give some nourishment to that bird. He won't be happy. And I said, here's the knowledge that I was searching for. So I never went back to the university. I said, I didn't find it in the university because it's summer vacations. I'm not going back. I became student of Bhagavad-gita and disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhu. That's the supremely edited small version. Of course, it was a gulab jamun at midnight that sealed the deal. Bhavananda was a devotee, the first devotee I met. So at midnight, we fasted all day. At midnight, there was arati, and then we had this feast. And I had never tasted things like this, you know. And then Bhavananda picked up a gulab jamun. In those days, the law was that you had to let it soak for 3 days before you offered it to Krishna. Those were heavy-duty gulab jamuns. You know how to eat this? I said, no. And he took that gulab jamun and he threw it in his mouth. Bloop, whole thing. And I said, if he can do it, I can do it. So I took that gulab jamun, boop, and he knew where I was at, so he was preaching to me that in the spiritual sky here, everything gets dull in the material world. Just like when I was a kid, there was a commercial on TV, smoking, joy, enjoying less, smoking more, enjoying less, smoking more, enjoying less. Come up to cool. Prabhupada said, it's fire, and he's saying cool. Anyway, but he said in the spiritual sky, sight is always heightening, touch is always heightening, smell is always heightening, taste is always heightening, sound is always heightening. And I put this gulab jamun and I said, I made it. I'm in the spiritual sky. So they keep feeding me like this, and I'll forget all about these four rules of regulation. So they keep feeding me like this. I'm still here.
Hare Krishna. So On behalf of the Juhu temple management, I would like to thank Dinabandhu Prabhu for coming to ISKCON Juhu, Mumbai, especially for the Radha Ashtami festival. For all of you who don't know, it's very, very difficult, it's very rare to get Dinabandhu Prabhu out of Krishna Balram temple on Radha Ashtami. So we are very grateful, Baba, for you coming and giving your association here. And there is one book, the third book of Dinabandhu Prabhu on Govardhan Parikrama. So many devotees have been contacting me because online also I made an announcement. So this book, if you see, he's been taking Parikrama in Vrindavan from last 40 years. Last 40 years. Just now Hanuman Prabhu asked that how did you learn Hindi? When I went with him first time to Vrindavan in year 2000, in Barsana, he was doing the katha in English. And suddenly in Barsana, some local people caught him. And he started talking to them in Hindi. That was a shock of my life. This is in 2000. And they think, wow, 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 wow. And someone's someone's son got married and he wanted Dinabandhu Prabhu to bless his daughter-in-law. So I was just surprised to see. And you can see in this special book, there are photographs which he took 40 years before, 30 years before, 25 years before, and the current photos. This book is a very big research of his personal contemplation, his memories, and his Acharya's writing. So this book is available as today is the last day. It's an opportunity to get his personal signature and blessings because tomorrow he's leaving back for Vrindavan. Let us thank once loudly chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for Dinabandhu Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Those who want to have a copy of the book, you can collect it from Rahul. Where is Rahul? Yeah, so on the courtyard, there's a table there. You can collect the book from there and you can come and take a signature from Dinabandhu Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.